Good evening. It is 6 p.m. This is the December 10th regular business meeting of the Sandwich School Committee. Just a reminder, this meeting is being televised and recorded by Sandwich Community Television, and is available via live stream at www.sandwichtv.org and Sandwich Community Television Education Channel number 8. We will begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask everyone to remain standing after, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As everyone is probably aware, our community suffered a tragic loss this week with the tragic passing of Riley Cochran. I just ask for a moment of silence in her memory and in support of her family. Thank you. We will begin this evening with our first public forum of the evening. Just a quick reminder for anyone who wants to speak in public forum, please sign in with your name and address. A reminder, public comment public forum, it's public forum, but it's public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals in the school committee. It is merely an individual's opportunity to express an opinion on issues with the school committee's authority. Just to clarify that, that's not us being difficult, that's just basically to comply with open meeting law. Each speaker will be given upwards of no more than 5 minutes, and we'll try not to exceed more than 15 minutes. If there's a great number of people, I may ask people to be slightly briefer in their comments so we can continue with the meeting. Would anybody like to come forward for public meeting? Excuse me, public comment.
Go? All right. Mike Pacone, 11 Carver Drive. I spoke here a few months ago about ongoing issues my 13-year-old autistic son faces in school, problems that distress him and disrupt his learning. I raised concerns about ideological messaging in the school, including a Protect Transgender Kids Rights sign on a social worker's door. That sign triggered perseveration for my son, who is aware of recent transgender-related violence and controversy surrounding opposite sexes in bathrooms. All children have equal rights. That sign implies otherwise, and the district chooses to promote it. I also reported that my son was called a homophobe on the bus. No one called me. I pieced the details together myself. A group of girls joked about pretending to be boys to enter the boys' bathroom. My son told them they couldn't, and they mocked him and labeled him. If staff had overheard that exchange, who would have been blamed? The district cannot claim to value anti-bullying while ignoring incidents involving vulnerable students. I warned that families who disagreed with these ideologies fear retaliation. What happened next made that fear real. In November, my son's ELA class was assigned I Can't Breathe, a video tied to the Black Lives Matter movement. Our concern was not the assignment itself, but that students were being forced toward a single viewpoint. We requested he not participate and asked for a different teacher. Before the change, the teacher asked the class, "Who doesn't like my class? What don't you like about my class?" When my son answered honestly, "I didn't like the video," he was pulled aside and told to be more respectful of other people's skin color. He hadn't even participated in the assignment, yet he was singled out and labeled. Exactly what we feared. This is ideological judgment and retaliation against a disabled child. The teacher may claim it wasn't his intent, but he introduced a video enforcing Black Lives Matter rhetoric and language, which demands submission or risk being labeled racist, privileged, or worse. That is exactly what he implied to my son, and by extension, our family. My family is none of that. The teacher imposed his personal ideology and showed discrimination against my son for refusing to conform. This is not an isolated incident. Last year, the same ELA teacher introduced political and ideological topics in class, discussing biological differences between men and women, strength, sports, and even asking who belongs in the kitchen. Before starting, he told the class, "What we discuss is not to leave this room." No teacher should ever tell students to keep discussions secret from parents, especially on topics involving sexuality. That crosses a line no district and no parent should tolerate. Another teacher told my son on Columbus Day, Columbus was a rapist. Why would we celebrate that? That is not curriculum. It is personal political opinion presented as facts and forced on a student. Another highlights a pride peace flag in class with transgender symbols, asking students, "Don't you love my peace flag?" Others require students to state their pronouns, putting children and families in a position where silence or disagreement risks being labeled. Even after requesting a neutral counselor, my son was assigned someone who signs emails she, her, signaling personal ideology. These practices pressure students, parents, and staff to adopt beliefs that are not part of the approved curriculum. After my complaint, the principal responded, "We absolutely do not promote any political, religious, or personal belief systems on our students. Students should never experience negative consequences for expressing views that differ from those of a staff member, and teachers are expected to instruct the approved district curriculum." Yet teachers continue to insert ideology into classrooms. This is a failure of the school committee and administration to enforce their own standards. I've reviewed the curriculum. None of this is in it. This isn't just about my son and his disabilities. Most students reject this rhetoric, yet it is overlooked. If our teachers are as talented as I believe they are, they can use non-biased materials that educate without pressuring students to adopt personal viewpoints that conflict with families' values. Parents are partners, not obstacles. We send our children to school every day as an act of trust, and that trust is broken. We pay high taxes while fundraising for crumbling facilities, and families like ours pay for advocates and tutors because schools cannot meet its obligations. Over 9 years,
30 seconds left.
we faced late IEPs, unmet services, missing aides, and more, while some teachers continue prioritizing ideology over education. Our children deserve better. Schools focus on learning, not political or sexual ideologies. I am asking the school committee and administration to take these actions. Remove political and ideological messaging from all school spaces. Ensure teachers refrain from inserting personal beliefs into lessons or interactions.
Excuse me, sir. It's 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
Guarantee that no student faces retaliation for disagreeing or holding a different viewpoint.
Thank you.
Yeah. Get to the website. Correct it to 5 minutes.
I gave you 5 minutes, sir.
I understand, but your website still says 3. So I was 2 minutes short last time, so I think
No, oh, no, it's fine. I actually gave you a little bit over. It's fine. To clarify that, we can correct the website. A few years ago, or about last year, the select board adopted 5 minutes, so we aligned with them. We just haven't updated that. We can do that. Would anybody else like to speak at public forum?
Whenever my time begins, just let me know.
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Manny DePazzo, and I'm speaking in support of the concerns raised by Mr. McCone tonight about ideological conditioning in our schools and the impact it is having on students, especially his son, and other vulnerable students who simply need to learn in a stable, neutral environment. I find it quite disquieting that the good people of this town send their children to school with the intention of procuring for them a quality education, but unbeknownst to them, their children are being subtly inculcated with viewpoints which are diametrically opposed to the values of the parents. What you just heard is not an isolated incident of one family's frustrations. It is part of a broader problem. Our district is no longer maintaining ideological neutrality, and the children are suffering the consequences. We're a small community here. Sandwich has roughly 500 students, I believe, in the middle school, and by the district's own numbers, I would guess a tiny fraction, maybe 1, 2, identify with pronouns that are contrary to their biological sex. Yet the entire classrooms are now being asked to participate in pronoun affirmations and gender-based instruction that most children cannot understand which nobody has frankly asked for. For young students, many of whom are still navigating basic academic and social development, this is confusing, unnecessary, and, when enforced by authority figures, deeply uncomfortable. Children should not feel pressured to make political or identity-based statements to avoid being atomized and labeled. The same is true for sexual ideology more broadly. Topics related to sexuality, gender identity, or socio-political movements should never be introduced as moral imperatives that students are required to affirm. These discourses are for adults such as us, not for school children. When a teacher tells a student not to celebrate Columbus Day because Columbus was a racist or a rapist, or when a teacher tells students that certain discussions should not leave the classroom, that's no longer education. This is ideological indoctrination by definition, speciously presented as a fact in a setting where students are a captive audience. When a child expresses disquietude about a classroom assignment tied to a socio-political movement and then is told he needs to be more respectful of other people's skin color, that is not imparting tolerance. This is an abuse of authority, and it places children, especially autistic children or those with social anxiety, in a stressful situation. They can't push back or object. They cannot defend themselves. They shut down, they withdraw, and their ability to learn diminishes. When no staff member responds to a report that a child was mocked and classified as a homophobe on the bus, and the same district publicly claims to value anti-bullying initiatives, this really betrays a dissimulation on the part of the district. The root issue is simple. Political, sexual, and ideological messaging does not belong in classrooms, in hallways, on office doors, in email signatures, or conversations that students are having with teachers that they cannot opt out of. I'm at a loss for how we can justify displaying signs and symbols in our schools which are clearly inimical toward the teleological ends of education, which are namely cultivating a virtuous, rational citizenry capable of active participation in the broader society. Public schools must remain a place of neutrality so children from all families can feel safe, respected, and free from any ideological pressure. If teachers were truly following the district's stated policies, which are no political, religious, or personal belief systems promoted to the students, none of these incidents would be occurring. But they are occurring, and apparently repeatedly. And that means that the policy is not being enforced. As a district, we need to decide whether we are preparing students academically or asking them to navigate adult socio-political issues that have nothing to do with reading, writing, math, science, or life skills. The more time we spend on ideology, the further our students will depart from the true teleological ends of education. Residents, taxpayers, parents are not the enemy. We all send our children to school trusting that the classrooms will remain neutral, unbiased spaces. When that trust is violated, when children are pressured, confused, or targeted for dissenting viewpoints, confidence in the system is necessarily reduced.
1 minute remaining.
Thank you. So the previous speaker already brought this up, and I concur. 1, we should remove political and ideological messaging from all school spaces. 2, ensure teachers refrain from inserting their personal beliefs into lessons and presenting them as facts. 3, guarantee that no student faces retaliation for disagreeing or simply holding a different viewpoint. This is not extreme, it's not controversial. This is really the minimum standard for a public school that serves children from a wide array of backgrounds. Thank you all so much for your time and for hearing me.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak at public forum?
I have something else completely different to talk about. Good evening, my name is Meg Keegan and I live at 13 Joe J. Lane. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time tonight. I'm here on behalf of a blind parent in our district, Kelly Traprasso. She very much wanted to be here in person, but as she cannot drive and there's still no remote participation option available, despite the facility having the capability, she's watching from home. The last time I was here, I spoke about the federal investigation involving Sandwich Public Schools and asked if the meeting agendas could be made accessible. I'm back here tonight because the same barrier that triggered those investigations is still happening. This afternoon, Kelly attempted to access tonight's agenda. Once again, it was not accessible to her. And I want to say this gently, but plainly. This is exactly what the federal investigation concerns, and yet nothing has changed for her experience. I've submitted multiple formal requests for documentation, and I've had to involve the supervisor of records more than once simply to receive answers. That is not the level of responsiveness or transparency I know that this committee is capable of. At the previous meeting, the chair stated that the agendas would be accessible going forward. I appreciate that intention. Unfortunately, the result has not matched the promise, and the gap is where civil rights violations occur. So with full respect, I'm asking for clarity and follow-through. Specifically, I'm requesting all the meeting agendas since my last public comment indicating whether accessible versions were created, documentation of any communications sent to the town clerk requesting accessible postings, and a clear explanation of the process going forward, who is responsible for ensuring accessibility, and how that will be verified. If accessible versions were created and posted inaccessibly by the town clerk's office, that should be documented. If accessible versions were not created, that needs to be acknowledged and corrected. Either way, I know we can do better than this. People with disabilities should never have to repeatedly ask for basic access, monitor your compliance, or attend meeting after meeting to flag the same issues. Accessibility is not an extra step. It's a civil right. And it's also an opportunity to demonstrate that this district values every family. I would strongly prefer not to return here again with the same message. This is fully solvable and can be solved easily. I will also be submitting this request through the public records process with hope that this time it can be filled without needing to involve the supervisor of records again. And before I close, I want to gently highlight one more point. When a person with a disability is told that they must take additional steps contacting the town clerk, navigating multiple channels, or chasing down documents, it shifts the burden of noncompliance to the person already impacted by it. Even if such steps are technically allowed, they create an inequitable experience that we should strive to avoid. I'm asking respectfully and directly that all future agendas be accessible at the time they are posted. No excuses, no workarounds, just meaningful action that aligns with both the law and the shared values. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak at public forum? Seeing none. Moving on next is student representative report.
Hello. Okay, last time it wasn't on, so I wanted to make sure it was on this time. Hi, everyone. It's crazy that it's already December. The year's going by so fast. But I'll just catch you guys up on what's been happening at the schools. So first at Forestdale, they had lacrosse workshops, which is when the high school lacrosse players, there's some juniors, some seniors, they went to like Forestdale. They kind of have like little clinics, right there, actually, with all the students, and they got to like drill on some skills. That was great. We should keep doing that every time. Yeah, okay. And then they also had Polar Express Day, which was on December 5th. All of the students dressed up in their pajamas, and they read like Polar Express in their specials classes, which was kind of gave me like nostalgia to like when I read the Polar Express, and I think we should bring that back to the high school if that's possible. They've also had lots of connections through their books. Miss Silvestri's 7th grade class is going to kindergarten and 1st grade students this Friday, actually, to read them books, which is great because that's like bringing lots of like what we were talking about, like just bringing connections through our school community. And then on Wednesday, December 17th, students at Forestdale they'll be participating in the Nutcracker, which begins at 6:30. So everyone clear your calendars and make sure you're there to watch them perform the Nutcracker. And again, get all of your running shoes ready because on December 22nd, there will be a jingle jog, which families beginning at 10 a.m. will be starting in the Forestdale bus loop. So everyone get ready to be jogging or running. In Oak Ridge, they recently had a spelling bee, which was like, I was like, wow, that's so like movie coded because I've never like heard of that. And so each student is going to get 50 words, and which they already got on December 1st, and it's completely like they can choose to participate or not participate, and they had a classroom round. So good luck to everyone who's progressing forward. It's also so great to see the motivation that these students have, because I know last year we had the science fair and it was like fully like at home, they did everything, but their like students were so driven and their projects were so amazing. And they recently had a movie night where they showed Minions, and one of my teachers, her kids goes to Oak Ridge, and she was just talking about how much they loved it and how amazing it was. So huge success. At the high school, congrats to everyone who was at All States auditions. 14 of the students will perform in Southeast District Festival, and 11 of them have qualified for the audition. So good luck to them, and congratulations to everyone who's performing. Best Buddies had, and all the unified classes had our Friendsgiving, which was so much fun. It's just during like long block. It's when there's they make food and we go there. We kind of create connections, play some games, and it's just a great time to be grateful for the community that we have. Alice in Wonderland has their shows. There's the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Be sure to attend. It's also the first show of our new director, who used to be a part of KTC, so we're very excited for him as well. Recently, the seniors attended 4Cs to learn kind of like the future opportunities that they have there and ask lots of questions. It was from like the pathways, so they got to explore a little bit more about that, which is great because we're allowing like our students to like be given further opportunities for their future. Girls Who Code, they use these Imagi like charms, so they coded like little like patterns. Some people had hearts, some people had sayings, it's a club at San Antonio High School, and it was so cool to see them. And a huge thank you to 4Cs for giving these charms and having this grant, so that they like anyone who's interested in further coding can like flourish their talent. And on December 19th, everyone has been practicing their poems, so Poetry Out Loud will be on that day. We cannot wait to see all the talents that people have to showcase, and hopefully we'll get a couple people up to stage this year too. So that's all I have for you guys. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Shreya. Would anybody have any questions?
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys
Great to
so
see you.
much.
Next up is correspondence and announcements. Anyone? Oh, I kind of jumped the gun. Thank you. Actually, next up is review and comment on the meeting minutes. So, first up is the regular meeting minutes of November 19th.
I make a motion that we approve the business meeting minutes from November 19th.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Benetta, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. Next up is the executive session minutes that are before you from our executive session on November 5th, 2025.
I make a motion that we approve the executive session minutes from November 5th, 2025.
Second.
Motion again by Ms. Benetta, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any objections? None. Passes unanimously. If you could pass those this way. Next up is now correspondence and announcements. I still have none. Next up is superintendent's update. And tonight we have our assistant superintendent, for those that you don't know him, Dr. David Quinn, who's pinch hitting for Dr. Marushek, who's out of town this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two quick items on the agenda for tonight. The first one is the Healy-Driscoll administration formed I think would be called like a blue ribbon panel to re-examine the potential new graduation requirements. They released essentially a preliminary report that's been consistent with some of their projected recommendations. They fall into three buckets. The first is the foundation of learning, which is shifting districts more towards what we already have in place with the MassCore system, while also providing more opportunities to meet those MassCore requirements through flexible courses. An example of this might be counting a computer science course, a high-level computer science course, as a science course. But also providing some flexibility for Chapter 74 vocational programs and early college. So trying to get every school in line with the requirements that would allow them to attend the flagship university at UMass Amherst. The second bucket is the demonstration of mastery, trying to move towards away from a high-stakes assessment platform while still trying to maintain like a competency determination. Their plan is to develop end-of-course assessments for 4 subject areas: math, English, science, and social studies that would be developed and administered by the state. The second component of it is a portfolio-based assessment that would be developed with state guidelines but administered at the local municipality. So trying to get avenues for students to be able to demonstrate competency in a wide variety of ways. I think like with anything else, the devil's in the details. So we don't know a lot about what that's looking like at this stage. The third area is prepared for what's next, college, career, and civic readiness. Trying to develop a individual plan, so the MyCap, which interestingly, we're really poised to take that on. We had a MyCap PD session with our school counseling office today. Internally, we're calling it Night Vision. So just trying to get career and academic planning. And then another thing that's been a hot topic is trying to provide avenues to ensure that every Massachusetts student completes the FAFSA or MASFA, and with an opt-out requirement versus an opt-in. Another point that's come up quite a bit is the financial literacy. While we have that course, trying to make that a graduation requirement so that students know the impact of the finances before they move on to their post-secondary experience. And then finally, students will have the opportunity to earn seals of distinction, so like the Seal of Biliteracy, and then we'll also, I think we'll be seeing some for our innovation career pathways and things of that nature. So trying to have like a well-rounded graduation comprehensive approach. Again, it's still in the early stages. These are just draft recommendations. The next report will be coming out in June. Second item on the agenda.
First off, any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none. Just because you mentioned the pathways, just so you're aware, there's a
Student Solve.
an event this Friday called Student Solve. It's with our computer science pathway. I'm actually going to serve as a mentor for their project. Kind of happened in a I can't even say the word. Circuitous. Thank you, sir. That's why we brought him. The PAMAS Challenge is involved in this, which I'm a writer with, and they asked me to be a mentor. I did the pre-session, and I found out that Sandwich is actually involved, so I got matched with Sandwich. So I'll be part of that this week. So
It's done in conjunction with our partners from the 1-8 Foundation out of Boston. They help finance some of our innovation pathways, particularly the CS program and the Biomed program. The goal of it is to give students an authentic real-world challenge and then have mentors like our chairman here to help them think through some of the challenges that they'll be facing, but to try to bring more authenticity into the student learning experience. The next
something I did not expect, just for the record. Just completely happenstance. But go ahead.
Item number 2 is the FY27 budget process update. I'm pleased to report that all major cost centers have presented an initial budget to the superintendent, myself, and Mrs. Austin. We also had a really excellent tri-board meeting last Thursday. To borrow a phrase from a colleague, it's not lost on us the challenges of trying to work with 2.5% levy, new growth, and potentially double-digit increases to health insurance. So Dr. Maruschek has asked every school to sharpen their pencil, really based on need, and come in with a level-funded budget. And I was pleased that our colleagues are really trying to be financial stewards, understanding the reality of it, while trying to provide a high-quality education with the most efficient use of our dollars. So that's ongoing. It's in the very, very early stages, but we're pleased to report that we're right on schedule for the budget presentations in January.
Dr. Miller.
Can I go back to the graduation requirements?
Yes.
The draft that was provided in the packet,
This is separate from are you referring to the competency
yeah,
determination?
is that another part of your
Yes, that's another part of this.
Okay.
Coming up. Any questions on the budget piece? We just want to touch base. We all were at the tri-board, but people that watch the school committee may not have watched that. The initial guidance is a 3.5%. We'll see how that shakes out. Just a reminder, while this is our only meeting in December, Mark your calendars for Wednesday nights because we meet weekly in January for budget season. So it's going to be every Wednesday.
Just to reiterate a point that I made at the meeting, I haven't been in this town a long time, but I have worked in several other communities, and the partnership between Bill Jennings and Michelle Austin in terms of being proactive problem solvers, the continued communication, is not always typical, and I'm just really, I think it's a tribute to the type of partnership that Heather Harper talked about at the meeting, so I think we're just going to continue moving forward in challenging waters. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is old business, is the Mask conference follow-up, the transportation session. In the background notes was the background packet. I'm trying to find it now as I'm looking at my computer. Was the, where is it? The template. I don't know if you want to speak to it at all, Sue.
It was just put in the packet for your information, particularly as we go forward and
Yes.
receive our transportation study. I think probably a lot of the points that are mentioned here, but this was presented at the the conference, joint conference between School Committee Association and superintendents, and I learned a lot in that 45 minutes that I didn't know before, and so it's just for your general information as we go through and evaluate the future of our transportation system.
Agreed, and I think this will be a nice, lack of a better, say checklist to when we get the study back, we can kind of compare it with this. I'm sure it's going to touch on most of them, but I look forward to that study when it's done. Any other questions there? Next up is the CPC grant application for the Sandwich Middle High School tennis courts, just for awareness. We talked about it at a previous meeting. We did submit it, or the superintendent submitted an application to the CPC, Community Preservation Committee, that oversees the Community Preservation Act funds. They met last Monday night, if I have my date.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday. Superintendent and Director of Facilities Michael Ryan attended. I went along. There's other applications. It was just a present and kind of move on. They didn't deliberate. They're going to deliberate in January. Eventually they vote, and they forward a recommendation to the selectmen, who ultimately vote and then put it on the warrant for town meeting, and ultimately whatever's approved is approved by the voters at town meeting. But hopefully we'll see how that shakes out going forward. But nice, and I think we told a story that they were receptive to it, but we'll see where it goes. Questions or comments there? All right. Next up is what Sue was asking about, was the updated competency determination policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll invite Principal Nelson to come forward with this component as well. I just want to first compliment Principal Nelson just on her effort in terms of pulling together the competency determination policy with the required updates from DESE. I want to commend the committee for taking a proactive approach to making revisions after the last vote regarding the MCAS. Over the summer, DESE has requested further revisions. The good news is that for the most part, they were either A, boilerplate, or B, things that we already had in place. I think the major change that we have is that for the competency determination, that U.S. history for the class of 2027 will be a requirement for moving forward. What's nice is that everything that's in our competency determination is also a graduation requirement, so that there's nothing new or nothing added here. The policy requirements also ask the districts to articulate supports in place for students with special learning needs, our multilingual learners, and then also providing avenues for students who now qualify for a diploma underneath the new graduation requirements from previous years may not have passed the MCAS alt. What's that process look like? And then the articulation of the transcript review, which was already in the policy but just had some different nuances. But for the most part, this is all kind of straightforward boilerplate language. The reason why we're bringing it forward to you is that in order for DESE to review it, it just needs approval from the governing body first. So we expect some feedback if there's needed after the first of the year.
Questions?
One
Dr. Miller?
question, where does statistics fit in will it meet a math requirement or a social science requirement or both?
Would you mind rephrasing that in terms of the?
We have AP statistics and maybe we don't, we have college level, college prep.
Correct.
Where does statistics fit in terms of requirements, or doesn't it meet a requirement?
That would not necessarily be applied to this competency determination.
Okay. So in terms of,
That would be like that's considered advanced coursework by the state.
okay, I guess my concern is, I can see algebra, maybe. There are many students who will never use algebra, but chances are they will use some sort of quantitative skill, quantitative analysis. In all the discussions that the council had, did they talk about the algebra to calculus pipeline? It doesn't fit the majority of our students. So this is a graduation requirement. Most students go into social sciences or applied sciences. They don't go into the STEM pipeline. So how do those students shine in terms of taking required coursework for graduation that is a better fit for what their aspirations are?
I think that.
I'm just asking
Yeah,
the question.
it's an interesting theoretical question, well, practical and theoretical, and I think I'll give my answer, and then Principal Nelson, if you want to weigh in. That more leans towards, I think, the mass core component, where there's a little bit more flexibility. The competency determination is really about like the minimum qualifications for a student to move forward based on the Commonwealth, the constitutional rights within the Commonwealth initial constitution.
I understand what it is, Dave, but in a couple of courses, we name a couple of required courses, one of which is algebra.
Yes.
And there is a huge amount of research that shows that for the majority of our high school students, those are not the aptitudes in terms of mathematics that the majority of students are going to use in their lives or in their future course of study. So I'm just asking, I don't know what happened in those council rooms. This is, some of this stuff in the graduation requirements are the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So how,
I think the CD policy requirement is coming from the state to address now removing the MCAS, right? So if we think about MCAS, it was given at the end of 10th grade. So freshmen take algebra, sophomores typically take geometry. On the average track, we have higher and lower performers, but the mainstream majority of students would take algebra as a freshman, geometry as a sophomore. So I think because these were recommended courses for the CD, so I think what they may have thought is, well, we're not going to test them at the end of 10th grade. However, now we're going to say that they have to have taken algebra and geometry to fulfill the CD requirement.
so I know it's a requirement.
Right.
I'm asking if competent educators across the street, is there any pushback on algebra and geometry for all students?
For all. I
The
understand.
competency determination.
I understand that. And we researched through this process so many schools in the state, and it's algebra and geometry, and it's English 9, and it's English 10. And I think you're right. I mean, it's not one size fits all. And I do believe the thought process behind that was to think about where the MCAS test was given at the end of 10th grade. What did they have? Well, they had English 9 and they had English 10. And I think that's how they determined which classes fulfilled the requirement. But that's
Yeah. And
And that hasn't changed.
Right.
Excuse me, I just want to finish my point. I graduated from high school in 1970. Algebra in 9th grade, geometry in 10th grade. And the sequence goes on, which was a pre-calc to calc pathways. Hasn't changed in 50 some odd years, 54 years. So I'm just putting the question out there. I know we're restricted by what DESE says, but I hope to heaven somewhere there are learned people, because there's certainly enough research out there that shows that when you're looking at requirements for all students as a competency determination, the coursework needs to be considered a bit more broadly. Not the outcomes and not the pass rates and not anything else, the content.
I agree.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Question, as proposed, it talks about the passing grade, final grade in the course. It also says, and it used to have, I forget the exact wording, but I know if someone did not pass the MCAS, as long as they proved competency by other means, I forget the exact wording, we've always had that in the past. How many people, amongst our students, either a number or percentage, are we looking at that do some type of alternative proof of competency other than just passing the course or passing the MCAS?
Yeah, very, 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 very low.
I mean, we talking
Like, I'm talking under 5, maybe,
a year?
if that.
Okay. I think, I learn something every time. I sit back and listen to Sue because I learn something every time. I think that's a much broader issue beyond this kind of one, but I appreciate your comments, Dr. Miller. Any other comments or questions? So I'll need first a motion to waive the first reading, and then if people agree to that, a vote to approve.
I make a motion that we waive the first reading of the competency determination policy.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Benenda, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. And now we need a vote to approve.
So I make a motion that we approve the updated competency determination policy as presented tonight.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Benenda, second by Ms. Goodwin, which makes Lisa happy. She can cut and paste. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. Next up is fall sports recap. Mr. Donovan.
Good evening. Oh, can we go back?
Absolutely.
I just want to highlight a few things. That's our varsity volleyball team up on the top left there. They made it to the state tournament. Top right is our field hockey team, state finalists. Lost a tough game against Uxbridge. Down the bottom there right is senior Marty McNamara at our turf. You can see that nice netting in the background there that we got put up. In the middle, our unified track state champions, led by Coach Young. I noticed a few faces in there. We had at our pep rally, we were able to secure a banner for them. And then over on the bottom left there is Meg Dwyer, Kyla Darman, Joe Coughlin, Mia Consalvi, and Megan Yakubichka, and the 5 of them are all going to play Division I sports next year. So we had our signing day. So just want to highlight a few things from the fall in pictures. So for the fall, here's what we had for our sports and the levels. Cross country, typically we just have at the varsity level. So we had a boys and girls team at the varsity level. Field hockey was lucky enough to have 3 levels this year. Nicole Alexander stepped in and was coaching the freshman team. They were all over the state trying to find games, so they were hustling, sometimes practicing at night under the lights. Varsity, we were able to have just a varsity, not enough for a JV, but I think across the state, especially in some of your smaller towns, the football numbers are going down. We're seeing more co-ops in football. So we had a new coach, Doug Bersari, who did a great job of keeping our guys going and keeping everybody healthy there. That's Tyler Jones and Damian King right there. Golf, we had 2 levels, a JV and a varsity team. New coach Ryan Potter there. Thank you to Sandwich Hollows for being so generous with their time and letting us practice and play over at the Hollows. Middle school, we had great numbers at the boys and girls. So we were able to have a good number of middle school games, both at the high school and over at the wing school. Boys soccer, we had a JV and a varsity team. Girls soccer, we had a freshman JV and varsity team, so 3 levels there with the new coach, Ivana Press. In volleyball, we had 3 levels, and we actually also had instructional. Our volleyball numbers are very, very high. Yeah, it was great being back in Cape and Islands, and multiple levels for multiple sports, and so a lot of kids out there playing. This is what we had. So about 38% of our students participated in a fall sport. You can see the volleyball numbers were really high. And strength and conditioning right there in the middle is a program that Matt McLean runs, which 2 days a week gives middle school kids a chance to go down into the weight room and work on a really, pretty significant plan that Matt has for them. He doesn't just put them in the weight room and tell them to do some things. He teaches them Olympic lifts, and he does a great job with them. And you see our middle school instructional volleyball numbers. We're 20, and Jeff Carter does that. Again, that's just a couple of times a week, and just getting girls involved in the program. In clubs, so we currently are offering 38 different clubs, and we have, if we go on to the Family ID, 770 students participating, and that could be the number of students in all of the clubs. So one student could be in multiple clubs. They can get access to the Blue Night Pass. So that could mean, one student is participating in 3 or 4 different clubs. So that's how that number is in there. If we had 707, that would mean we'd have about 111 that aren't doing something, which I'd love if that was the number, but I don't think we're there yet. But 38 clubs is pretty impressive. So we have those running throughout the year, and we have rolling admission for those. Students can join at any time. They get the Blue Night Pass, and they're allowed to join all the clubs that we have to offer. So a couple of highlights. Again, we were back in the Cape and Islands. Girls cross country and field hockey won the league. Field hockey, soccer, girls soccer, and volleyball all competed in the MIA tournament, with field hockey going the furthest. Field hockey state championship finalists. We had 28 All-Stars, and we had 3 athletes as league MVPs. And that's our field hockey, our soccer team, and that's our girls cross country team. Small in numbers, but really impressive. Kylie Bowden had an awesome year as a senior. For the winter, so we just started. We're in week 2 of the winter, and boys basketball is currently at 3 levels. Girls basketball is at 2 levels for JV and varsity, but there's going to be 2 middle school teams for the girls, I think, is what we're going to have. Middle school boys basketball will also have a team. They'll be practicing and playing over at the Center for Active Living. Myself or one of the coaches usually puts them in the in the minibus, and we shoot them over there in the afternoon. So it's a little hectic at 2:15. So if you see me on the road, give me a shout out. I'll try and make sure that I'm driving slowly to get them back and forth. Girls, boys ice hockey has a JV and varsity team, so 2 levels there. Girls ice hockey, we're continuing with our co-op with Bourne, Carver, and Mashpee. That's just 1 level for that team. Boys and girls swimming had great numbers, and that's 1 team. Typically, and that's usually what you would find at most schools, is just a varsity team. Boys and girls indoor track, same thing with a varsity level, and wrestling with 1 team. We have 28, 29. Usually we have there's a bit of a drop in the winter. In the fall, you have I think football typically with having more players adds to the pool of athletes, but we're right around where we have been for the couple years I've been here. So I'm happy with our numbers for the winter.
Quick question on hockey.
Sure.
Do you know the breakdown of our players versus the other towns?
So 2 Bourne, 1 Carver, 1 Mashpee, and 16 for us.
Do you see the co-op continuing, or do you see the numbers such that we'd go back solo again?
I think so. We did this one this is another 2-year cycle. So year 1 of the 2-year. I think it makes sense, at least just, again, I kind of defer to the hockey coaches on this because they have a good sense of who's coming up. But it's worked out, from my perspective, it's worked out great. Those towns have been easy to work with. The athletic directors have been great to work with. I think it's been a good experience. So if we quote unquote need those schools, I'm happy to keep it going. The obvious move would be if we have enough that we just have our own separate team, but it's nice to know we have some options.
Not an agenda, just a curiosity
Yeah.
really in the question. So there's no
Totally.
and just Alexis, this might be new to you. Co-op. So if a town or school does not have enough to field the team, they can basically partner with other schools. It's an application that goes to MIA. There's a lot of wickets they go through, so you're not building some type of super team and things like that. Well, because it was a challenge a couple years ago when we first started this. The Sandwich Girls Hockey went to they were in the tournament. I think they made it like the Elite Eight maybe, and the next year they had to go co-op. So that probably but it was numbers driven.
Right. You have there's a maximum amount that you can't go over a certain amount before you're asking for a co-op, and they want to know potentially how many players you'd be getting from each of the schools. So like Kevin just said, you're not, rolling out 4 lines for a girls hockey team.
And you can't, it's from towns that can't field their own team.
Right.
There's a lot of wickets to it. So thank you for doing that.
Of course. And then a few small changes. We have a new logo on the basketball court. We did some a minor facelift. So in order to offset the off-coloring on the court, we were able to, Michael Ryan, who the new facilities guy who's been great to work with, got 2 logos put onto the court. So if you're over the court and you see those, it adds a little bit to it. We have a multi-purpose room that we're going to be using in the winter for wrestling. So Coach Fay got in and put the padding down on the ground, and we're working with an organization called BSN, who we do a lot of our uniforms and ordering from, that we're getting padding put up all around the room. So it's going to be for them in the winter, as well as classes, and then multi-purpose during the school year. So hopefully around mid-December that should be done and completed. There's a little bit of a delay, but they're in the cafeteria currently practicing right now. Not right now, but for the season. Mm-hmm. And then Dan Dobbins and the National Arts Honor Society, if you walk into the gym and look to the right, you'll see that they are in the middle of painting this Blue Knights logo up on the wall, which has been really cool. Kids have just been coming in after school and working away at it. So we thought to sort of add a little bit to the walls. So those are a few minor changes that weren't a huge cost, and hopefully will make things look good.
Nice. And that's in the gym, you said?
Yes, that's in the gym on the right-hand side, like where you would get the where you get your tickets. To the right there.
I had a question. I know we had kind of mentioned it over in the years past about the hockey, about the ice time, and how we've kind of gone over budget, previous seasons. And how is this being managed during the season? And how, if a coach asks for an extra practice, beyond allocated budget, what do we do?
So we are at the mercy of Gallo. Jordan and Billy would love to get extra practice time. They have about 50 minutes from the time they get on till the time they get off. And sometimes it's 6:15 in the morning that the boys are typically going out there, and the girls sometimes could be 6 or 7 at night. So we, it's expensive, obviously, but there's not a lot of wiggle room. They basically tell us what they have, and the coaches try and fit in. Excuse me. They fit in their schedules with what they have. So, like we'll have some JV boys hockey games this year, and some of them will be at 3:30 at Gallo, and it'll be 3:30. They typically don't even clean the ice in between periods, and then they're off at 4:20, 4:25, and then the next group is coming in.
And how do you feel budget-wise with ice time? Are we in a good place? Seeing the-
So I typically feel like we're in as good of a place as we can be in, where sometimes victims of our own success, in that we go into the tournament and we host tournaments. Like this year, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have games. Thursday, Saturday of the boys, Friday, Sunday of the girls. So there's 8 hours there. Then we have we'll host for the Canal Cup versus Bourne, the Hayes tournament, which is unbelievable showing. It's almost, hockey I found is really big in Sandwich, and I love it. I was always a basketball guy, but now I'm saying to Jordan, I love going to the hockey games. But it's a cost. And I know we've talked about, like, how do you offset it, and do you turn to, boosters and things like that? And I don't know, I struggle with that a little bit, only because we don't do it for other sports, so, yeah.
I just have one more question. Are night passes available for people to buy, to purchase, like
For
winter sports?
Yes, so we'll start those actually. I think we're going to be selling them Thursday, starting. To pay for the ice time. Yeah, we'll be giving them out. That's bitterly ironic.
Everyone will show up.
To pay for
I had a couple ask me last night.
Yeah,
They
so
came to a game last night and said, we wanted to buy a night pass.
Yeah, so the night pass is similar to like what they have for the clubs, where you buy that one time and then you use
How
it to
much
get
does
into
that cost?
$50.
Okay.
Yep. And we're not charging our students for getting into events.
Oh, great.
So we started doing that in the fall, and I think it worked out great. We set up a little path for them to come in, and
that was great at football games. Yeah, that was really
trying to get them to come to the events.
Yeah.
So
Great. Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions, anyone? Just one, I know typically, MIA handbook talks about we should hold like sports nights, things like that. I've also gone to them, and I look around, and there's a lot of empty seats left and right to me, so I understand that. And but there is a lot of good information that's often passed that allows parents to meet coaches. Ms. Spur, our athletic trainer, usually does her concussion 101 for parents, for awareness. How are we doing that if we're not hosting that night?
So I'm trying something different, and I'm certainly open to discussions and things. I saw the same thing you did, Kevin. I saw the same thing when I was coaching, and for my own kids, you basically get either parents that have seen it over and over again, or possibly new parents. So what I decided this year is, we have the slideshow that I put up is on the district website. I've also shared it out with all my coaches, and then I'm asking my coaches to hold preseason meetings with their teams to go over the things specific for their teams. I felt I wasn't getting a lot of participation with a lot of people showing up to those. We run into issues with, on a night that we were doing sort of the meet the coaches, a team was having a scrimmage, so they couldn't host, so they would go to another night, or not every player was showing up. I've even thought of things like, do we make it a night where we give out uniforms? That way there's an incentive to go. I've even thought of a night where I host it, and I almost hold a 1 or 2 hour, I'm just there. I'm like in the auditorium to answer any questions that you have. I thought of doing a 1 hour hop on a Zoom, and any parents that have questions. I can certainly look at it again. I want to make it worthwhile, and make it so it's not repetitive for everybody.
That's why, I mean,
yeah.
I know what the book says. I've seen the reality. That's why I asked the question.
Course.
My only thought there is, if you're I like the idea of the coaches doing it individually. How Kelly's part gets distributed is another story. Maybe she can, some kind of, maybe through Parent Square, she can send an info sheet or something like that. If possible, maybe the coaches communicating directly to the parents, because call me a skeptic, but I don't always rely on the athlete to tell mom and dad that the coach is willing to meet with them.
Agreed. I absolutely hear you.
About the basketball one. Yeah, the basketball coach set aside time, said to the players, "Oh, I'll be there tomorrow after the scrimmage if your parents want to talk."
Oh, okay.
And,
I may be diming my kid out, but
Yeah.
Evan did not.
They didn't, yeah. It's a, in some ways, with more tools for communication, it's almost become trickier because you have so many options, right? Like, we don't want our coaches, certain ways of communicating with their players and, sending emails or, so.
I just said, I appreciate challenges. Actually, if we can find the better mousetrap for that, I think it is worthwhile.
Of course.
Any other questions? See none. Thank you, my friend.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
What he didn't tell you is there's a new assistant middle school basketball coach, and you're looking at him. As a volunteer, not a stipend or anything like that, would never do that, but I'm on injured reserve for officiating this winter, so I'm going to help out with the middle schools. New business, other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. Moving on to subcommittee reports. DEIB.
Okay, so it was a few weeks back that we met now, I think.
Can I just clarify that our last meeting, when you had to leave early, Kevin just completely skipped over me and didn't even ask me to share, so.
Oh, wow. We had it all planned out. Okay, all right, we know now. So last meeting, our conversation revolved around belongingness and the continued conversation around having a common thread through all of the schools and community. So that's a work in progress and will continue to be, because I don't think the conversation ever ends. But individual work is happening in each building, collective work is happening, professional development is continuing. Alexis is going to be the contact at Forestdale and Kaylee at Oak Ridge, and I'm still the contact for the middle high school. And I think that's it, unless I'm missing anything else that anyone can think of. We did talk about the work being done that Shreya and Peter have actually mentioned to us, bringing Playbook Initiative to Oak Ridge, and then Oak Ridge starting some work around having upstanders and doing some work there. So that's it. Good things happen.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for her? Superintendent's Eval Subcommittee, we met last week, just the fall review. We went through kind of mid-period update on his goals. Obviously, he's not sitting here. As much as I'd like to talk about him behind his back when he's not here, we'll do a bit more formal review for everybody in January when he's back. So, but it was a good meeting. We will set up a spring date to do the summative eval. Questions there? Seeing none. Liaison Advisory Committee reports. Anyone? Seeing none. Next up is warrants.
I make a motion that we approve the warrants as presented tonight and signed.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Menendez, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. Next up is our second public forum of the evening. Would anybody like to come forward for public forum? Seeing none. Future agenda items. You're all speechless. Everyone just can't wait to do budget next in January. Dr. Miller.
It's not so much a future, well, maybe it could be. Do we have a new nurse replacing Nicola Bordelon?
It's not a full-time head nurse. It's a stipend position who's serving in that capacity. Her name escapes me. Not to put assistant soup on the spot.
Jen Blackington, correct?
We filled the role, yes.
Yes, it's Jen Blackington. She started already. She's already planning PD for the group. So, and we've also backfilled the replacement. So we're
Then future, is she the lead nurse. I don't know what the title is.
Not 100% sure on the title, but it's essentially the same role as Nicola was.
Nicola, coordinating
Correct.
3 schools. Okay. So the future agenda, perhaps at
An
the end
update?
of the semester, maybe we could meet her, or we could meet her beforehand, and maybe she could just talk about
That's a good idea.
her goals and what she sees as priority.
Absolutely.
Great.
What we'll do is, I'll touch base with the soup, and we'll look, as we do the cost center reviews in January, if one night looks a little lighter than others, we'll get her in. If not, we maybe, unless there's an objection, we'll may defer to February, so we're not here too long.
It'd be nice to meet her and hear her impressions. Great.
It wouldn't take too long, so I'm sure we can make it happen. So, any other future agenda items? Seeing none. Acknowledgements, closing remarks. Ms. Benetta.
Just do a quick acknowledgement, just to the whole community of Sandwich for rising to the occasion with the devastating tragedy in town, to Jeannie Nelson and the school administrators, for all of the school administrators for their communication, just for people with compassion and empathy for what this poor family's going through. The GoFundMe has taken off, the meal trains, just the support. We're really fortunate to live in Sandwich and be surrounded by such gracious, loving people. Thank you.
Dr. Miller.
To add to that, there's been so much that has gone out to the family in terms of condolences and sympathy and good wishes. I'm sure the fire department and the PD would appreciate a note or something appreciating there, because having been married to a first responder,
Absolutely, absolutely.
all tragedies are tragic, but when it's a child, it's just heartbreaking, and it's hard on the responders as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Having been involved in that in a previous life, I would completely agree with you. Anyone else?
I don't know if this is out of order, but the Alice in Wonderland, not to pivot, this is a really hard pivot from a very emotional topic. Just a comment there. I can't say how supportive the entire staff has been, particularly the middle high school. The meal train has been filled through February. You can't even sign up for it anymore. The GoFundMe has been immense. I think we're fortunate to live in and work in such a supportive community. And I'm just proud of the efforts that have gone into supporting this wonderful family going through an immense tragedy. And again, sorry for the hard pivot, but also the Alice in Wonderland. Does anybody have a comment on that? Or just the tickets are on sale now. There's posters across the community. There's online ticketing. So just because that's coming up very soon, just want to make sure that got on folks' radar as well.
Indeed. Anyone else? No, thank you for that. Next up is, I'll take a motion to adjourn, and we do need to read the whole thing.
I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting and adjourn to executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. The committee will not reconvene to open session.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Benenda, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. We are adjourned
Next year.
till our next regular business meeting. We are adjourned to executive session. Our next regular business meeting will be January 7th, 2026, right here in Historic Town Hall. That is one alibi. We will be here probably until at least April.
Till at least April.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy holidays.